Hi everyone, Lauren Morales again. Woohoo! Okay, so Project 9. Again, reading Eva and Franco. So art value. Does art value matter in age, whether we can see it aging or whatnot? Okay, so I think this really comes down to what you define as valuable. Some people might value the art itself, art piece itself. So, like, say, we'll say the screen. That one hasn't aged too badly, I think. Or Monet's work. I'll say Monet because I know for sure that one hasn't aged that well. A lot of people love Monet's work, and that work is just renowned for color and impressionism and whatnot. So everyone appreciates that because they see it. They feel like they're part of history when they see it fresh, and when the painting ages a bit, then it's sort of like, oh well, I kind of missed it. It's here, but not part of the experience. So it kind of takes people out of it if they value the piece itself and seeing it. It kind of reminds them that, oh, this was painted. I think Monet was in the 1800s. In the 1800s, oh, whoop-de-doo. So I don't think they would really appreciate that as much if they're appreciating the painting itself. But if they're appreciating the value, or valuing the chance to see it, then history reminds them, oh, this is an old painting, like the Mona Lisa. I mean, who doesn't know the Mona Lisa? And it's not aged as badly as I've seen other paintings have, but I mean, it has its cracks. It's kind of yellowed, I believe. I've never seen it in person, but that's what people have told me who have seen it. And excuse me, also reminds them that there is a history to it, that this was painted by a guy who lived years and years ago, and this painting is his legacy that's lived on after him. So, I don't know, I think it depends on what you value. So, yeah. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, okay, what do you think Eva and Franco consider the original? I think they think there isn't an original. I mean, I'm kind of throwing out on a limb here because I couldn't find passages that's like, this is what you and Franco think. I don't think that exists either because that's too straightforward. I think a lot of people don't think anything's original at this point. So I think even Franco views the original as not being the original anymore because they I'm trying to word this. They want to have it. They add to it. that's the word I'm looking for. Like when they steal the little pieces of it, they see that as adding the piece, and that was supported by one of the articles at the end of the book that was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And they're like, "Oh, I think that's great." And then some other guy was like, "Hey, this is like this, and this painting to become famous till this happened." So I think they see themselves as adding on to the pieces, adding on to the experience, and that's what makes it original, is the individual experience someone has with a piece. Because although we have like general feelings over things, and that's why we can connect to movies and art pieces, I think the specific actions you take is what makes it original. Because who knows how many other people are doing exactly the same thing you are. I know at least 100 people in my class are doing a webcam right now. Okay, so number 3, the dark twist between Darko Maver's art. Okay, so this is kind of a big question. I'm gonna do my best to answer it. Okay, so I think it was Fields. I think the dark twist is the fact that Maver doesn't exist and that he is the art himself, which is kind of funny because no one would see it that way. And I think it's also the fact that he existed due to the public and media fueling that. I mean, he was in newspapers. The public was like, "Oh, I don't want to see a dead baby," and so like that's what made him real. And then when even Franco killed him off, and then, or was that Luther? Was that, I don't know. I think it was Darko Maver. When they killed him off, it was just like, oh, hey, that was tomato sauce. He's not real. So yeah, I think that was the dark twist of it. Okay, so the fake plaque in Italy, what did it say? And yeah, it basically said no one here, no one of importance lived here, and that's a statement on history because history is what we demarcate as important. And so, I mean, there could have been an important person, but it's like someone's true love versus the idea that it's someone's, I don't know, someone who created war or whatever. I don't know. That was a horrible example, but yeah. So it's just like who demarcates it, and that's usually the general public, or I guess yeah. I was gonna say history majors, but I don't. Or history people, but they are the public too. So yeah, it's just whoever sees that event as important, and generally that tends to be really big events that impact a lot of people rather than a couple people. And when people saw that sign in Italy, they were like, "Hey, what are you talking about? That's not nice. You can't say that about us." And they're like, "Well, the public doesn't see you as important." At least that's what I imagine they were saying. We probably didn't. Okay, so number 5. The main themes of It's Always 6 o'clock. Okay, so this is the one with Nikki on the cover. I was wondering about that one. Okay, so that one, it's the imaginary characters breaking free from the narratives they inhabit. It's possibly an extended metaphor for people. I mean, people identify their culture by these characters. I mean, you think of Mickey Mouse, you think of Walt Disney. I think of America because he used the whole American dream of coming up with your own business and then growing to the max. I mean, he was brilliant. So I think there's a sort of identity with that. I mean, people can name their favorite restaurants because they're like, oh, hey, I like McDonald's, and that becomes a part of them. I don't know. My definition of how you identify yourself is how you identify the things around you and what you associate in your world. So I think the fact that a lot of people can recognize a lot of those characters in that exhibit kind of puts them in the exhibit themselves. And even Franco are like, hey, you can burst out, you can extend yourselves. And then when people leave, it's like, oh, now I'm back in my narrative. How can I break out of this? So I think that's kind of the theme of it. Okay, and number 6. Wow, I'm kind of going fast today. That's shocking. Okay, so United We Stand. What does it say about American and United States and Hollywood values? Okay, so this is definitely a cliche. Is that Hollywood values production value more than actual historic value or actual worth, anything worthwhile kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I think people are. I think that makes a statement on how we kind of just go with the flow, even if, I mean, a lot of people are like, hey, it's going to be a good story. It's got Ewan McGregor. I think it had Marion Cotillard. And yeah, so they were all excited about that, and then it turns out it's fake. So I think it's just them like kind of playing with people and playing with, oh, what's real? Is what the public determines or what the company determines or whatever. It's also a statement on how movies have become such a huge part of our culture. Like the Nike swoosh, it's that identity thing. And yeah, and film is just in that. It's been in it for almost, actually, it's probably been a century now. Now that I think of it. Well, a little under maybe. Um, so yeah, in just a century, it's become a huge part of the culture. I mean, there's not one person in the United States or any first, oh gosh, I can't think of the name, fully developed country that doesn't know what the movies are. So yeah, so that's United We Stand, and that's even Franco Matez for today. And yeah, so the Rubik's Cube, hooray! Okay, I think I'm done. Alright, bye.